Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 2 of this Best of 3 series between Electi Gaming and You What Mate. I am Oisin, Bloodpenguin, Molloy, and joining me again is Ceirnan, Excoundrel, Lowe. Going into this second game, you feel like You What Mate really got to have a solid plan coming back into it.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be difficult now for You What Mate. They've lost a ban, obviously. There was a little bit of a delay. I believe one of the players had a connection issue. So, obviously, couldn't be helped, but it is going to impact their pick and ban phase. And we said that we needed to make sure they had a good pick and ban phase if they wanted to stay competitive in this next match. And Bloodpenguin, they need to think about where they're going to throw these bans. In my eyes, the Nara's got to be banned. The Anivia's got to be banned, but then you're leaving open the potential for Shorty's AD Blitzcrank. You're leaving open the potential for his AP Ezreal. There's so much on the table that they need to think about. They need to pick a composition that they know that if they leave bans up or leave picks up, they can deal with it. And It needs to be more well thought out. They need to revert to what they think their strengths are. Proper Panda needs to be on an aggressive champion. He needs to be using the fact that his ability to play the map is a lot better than his ability to farm camps. And Keys needs to be on maybe even that Teemo. I mean, we'll just throw it out there. Even that Teemo potentially coming out for Keys this game. It's been so good for them. And Brixton just needs to get onto something aggressive, something he can make plays with in lane.
Yeah, I totally agree, and even that the loss of a ban is even harder, really. When you're on the red side, you don't even get first pick. You can kind of make it work sometimes on your advantage when you're on blue side, but they're gonna lose first pick as well. But pick 2 quick bans coming in, 3 quick bans. Oh god, so many bans coming in straight away. But we have Lee Sin and Lucian being banned out by Electi again. Heimerdinger and Jarvan being banned out by You What Mate. Heimerdinger, very very interesting ban.
I'm trying to work out whether the Heimerdinger is just a throwaway ban so they can get the bans over with more quickly, or...
Well, surely you'd just throw away, if you're going to throw it away, you'd throw it into something like an Anivia or a Nar.
No, I know, but do you know what I mean? Because they've lost a ban, I'm trying to work out whether the I think Heimerdinger was either a cleared ban with the other team where they said they're not going to play Heimerdinger, so we'll ban Heimerdinger to move the picks and bans phase on. So they're technically, that is their lost ban. They're just doing it on a throwaway champion.
Yeah, totally agree. We've seen now the last picks and bans. There's 3 identical bans now for the side of Electi. Lucian, Lee Sin and Syndra all banned against You What Mate. And we see Akali and Jarvan going out on the side of Electi being taken away from them. But as we say, they've left Nara open. They've left actually Warwick open as well, if they so choose to go with that. But they do lock in the Corki. Very, very good game from Hayden in the last game. He was able to completely own Sivir once he got his Triforce.
And I like this from Proper Panda. He's going to go for something that is going to be looking to make early ganks, put down early pressure. Pantheon is still ultra viable. I say that in the sense that he's still a very solid jungler because he can still negate the auto attacks coming out from those big minions, obviously, and negates a lot of the damage coming down. So he's still got a decent clear, can still sustain through the jungle with the use of that passive. And Keys on Gnar. Now, we've talked about what Keys has played in this tournament. He's played Irelia and Teemo essentially all the time. Exclusively. But he is a fantastic Gnar player and he's played that on other tournaments. And I think that's a solid pickup for him because it takes it away from Chikala. And Gnar was such a big presence that last game. They're just deliberating on what they want to go for. And it is going to be that Pantheon lock-in, which I guess will be for Proper Panda unless Brixton pulls out something crazy like a throwback mid-lane Pantheon. But likely going to be this Proper Panda Pantheon jungle.
Yeah, Proper Panda going with the Pantheon jungle, and I quite like that. It's quite a, you get that level 6, you look for your Grand Skyfall, but you have got pressure earlier on with that stun and, the kind of high damage that Pantheon brings. He is exceptionally viable because of his passive being able to block the main minion attack, so it actually helps. It's not sustained, but it kind of just keeps him alive a little longer than most junglers.
Yeah, it's like pseudo-sustained.
Exactly, exactly. Tryndamere actually being hovered over here by Shazzy, and it might just go with the Janet. It works well. Why fix what's not broken? In that sense, they might just actually go with an incredibly similar comp. They could lock that in. They could lock in potentially the Nivea again. But they're actually going to go with Aurelia, so we're going to see a straight swap of champions in that top lane.
Yeah, so Aurelia going over for Chi Killer. I would have been surprised with the Tryndamere pickup. Do you know what's interesting? I wouldn't be surprised to see an Aurelia jungle. Just hear me out. I had an Aurelia jungle in solo queue, and I know this is solo queue. And she picked up that Skirmisher's Saber, and her true damage on hit when she used the smite on an enemy champion was ridiculous. It's certainly going to be an Aurelia top lane, but I would have just loved to have seen that because the true damage on hit from using the Skirmisher's Saber combined with Heightened Style is fantastic. But no, I imagine Chica is going to be taking that Aurelia into the top lane, and we'll see something a little bit more viable coming out from Electi in terms of the jungle.
Yeah, and Morgana and Jinx quickly picked up for the Wattmate bot lane, and it's a pretty strong, hard engaged, turret pushing kind of bot lane, if you like. You know, obviously you've got the Dark Bindings, the Shoal Shackles, and you've got a good Black Shield to stop the kite. But they don't know what the jungler or the mid laner is going to be, and the jungler could be a big thing. If Electi choose to go with something like a Maokai or even a Warwick or something like that, they've got a very, very, huge, hard engage on an immobile ADC, so they can lock up Jinx very, very quickly. They are going to lock in the Ezreal. We talked about that pick.
It's going to be Shawsy.
Yes.
And actually, don't be so quick to expect that Brixton won't be playing Morgana mid lane, because it is something that he does play. And interestingly, I think that'd be an almost fairly decent pickup into the mid lane of Haina, but it will be a Morgana support likely, and actually something that I'm very impressed to see Brixton picking up, and I'm really a big fan of his Ahri because I think he can make more plays with it in that mid lane.
Yeah,
but
he really needs to make more plays realistically.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember that you can queue abilities in Ezreal, and I believe if you use your E as you get charmed, you can still. It's basically like what you can do to the Blitzcrank pool. You can still use that jump away and negate the charm essentially. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Shawsy on this AP Ezreal. It's been a while since I've seen it, but it is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see it now. I used to be an Ezreal main. It's one of my favorite things. He's obviously got an endless amount of skins, so it's going to be interesting to see what skin he chooses as well. But the Ahri is locked in for Brixton. Obviously, going to be trying to get a little bit of a skill shot war now with Shawsy in that mid lane. But is it going to be Maokai jungle or top? I feel like it will be the Maokai jungle. I've seen him quite a bit up in 4.19. I've seen him a little bit in 420. Not a huge amount apart from solo queue. As we wait to see now, as the teams lock in everything. Excuse me. Again, Gnar and Aurelia, it's such a strange kind of combo in the sense that they're both exceptionally strong. Neither really wins out in the laning phase.
Yeah, interestingly, you were talking about the Maokai jungle there. We haven't seen it for a while. It's actually one of the odd ones' favourite picks in solo queue because you basically can still walk into lane and lock people down. You have got your passive sustain running through. When you build up those passive stacks, you get the 8% health back when you use an auto attack. So there is a lot of sustain built into Maokai's kit. I am interested to see how he's going to run in this new jungle. I can imagine if he starts that Gromp and then gets the Gromp buff, he'll have a fairly quick clear speed to boot. So he can then look to move into lanes and utilise that heavy gank presence that he has. And actually, it's something that Sam Hodge plays a lot when he used to play on Perilous a long time ago now. So he'll know how to run this champion and his strengths and weaknesses. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, the Aurelia Gnar matchup is a strange one, actually, Bloodpenguin. In most cases, Aurelia does well against short-ranged top laners because she has the ability to Blade Surge to minions, reset the Blade Surge, get an Equilibrium Strike, and then if they choose to use a gap closer to escape, like Gnar can use his bounce and try and escape, Aurelia can then follow up with another Blade Surge from the reset and get more damage down. But Gnar has a lot of ways of slowing approaching enemy champions. He's got the percentage health-based damage from the Hyper. Obviously, then when he goes into Mega Gnar form, you don't want to be dueling him. So Gnar is a really odd matchup. You'd say if Gnar was consistently in his ranged form, Aurelia would have a good chance of beating him outright in lane, but because he has this weird twist to him that he can get into this big tanky Mega Gnar form, it makes Irelia a little bit less viable against that, that kind of champion. So Gnar's got the best of both worlds. He just doesn't get to choose which world he's in. He sort of it just happens. You have a modicum of control over it, but obviously, if you're going towards that full rage bar, you can't stop it if you want to continue to auto attack and farm. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. But again, Chi Killer gauged his, kind of rage bar fantastically in that last game, was able to get the hard engages, able to use the Mega Gnar and the Gnar ultimate perfectly with the Jarvan ultimate. Obviously, they've swapped around. Key's kind of saying, well, I prefer that, and Chi Killer saying, well, whatever you can do, I can do better. So they're having a little bit of a kind of, see who's the better top laner overall. This would be pretty much the fairest ground, really, you can go upon to try and check this out. But anyway, we'd like to have a quick run through the teams. It is Electi on the blue side with Irelia in the top lane, Maokai in the jungle, Shawzy bringing out the favoured Ezreal mid lane, and their duo lane is going to be Corki and Janna, which played exceptionally well in the last game. And on the purple or red side, whichever you guys prefer, is going to be Gnar in that top lane, Papa Panda bringing out the Pantheon into the jungle, Ari for Brixton in the mid lane, and your duo lane will be Jinx and Morgana. In terms of early game, are we expecting anything huge, or are we just kind of, standard defend the lanes?
Do you know what's really interesting about the early game now? I very rarely see invades because people are just so tentative about what they can and can't take from the jungle. Obviously, now you sometimes want to start not that you won't necessarily start your buffs straight away, so people are a little bit more tentative about doing that kind of thing, and I don't tend to see it. Now, I still think invades can work very well. But obviously, you lose the potential to use your smite on a camp that'll potentially give you an aid in your clearing speed. So if you look to steal a buff away, yeah, you'll get your buff, but you won't have the aids to help you clear. You've got to make that decision. Obviously, that's an easy thing to give up if you think you're going to get a solid advantage from the early levels. It's just very, very... it's just an odd concept, these invades now. But they actually do work because they catch people off guard, because people just haven't been doing it in the new patch. I haven't seen many at all when I've been playing solo queue, but there is always the potential for invades, especially when you've got a team like Morgana and Ari. That is some serious level 1 lockup right there. You can get a binding into a charm, and that'll almost certainly be a singular dead target. I probably would say on the side of Electi, they'll definitely be looking for a defensive line there. They'll get that 5 across the map and look to lock up their targets. But it's a lot harder to get these early invades off too, because of the movement speed bonus that you get as you now spawn from the fountain. So you can easily move to where you need to go because you get that extra movement speed bonus, and you can get those wards down early on as well. So there's a lot in the game right now to counteract early aggression too.
Yeah, absolutely. You see a pause though straight away into the game, so we're going to see maybe a couple of connection issues, might be a TeamSpeak issue, we're not exactly sure, but hopefully it will be fixed up relatively soon. So we wait to see the teams now, but I feel like you mate have to be the aggressors. They have to be the ones to make the amazing plays with Brixton using the roam, or with Propaganda Panda using his Grand Skyfall. They need to be the ones to put Electi on the back foot and dictate the pace. Otherwise, like in the last game, Electi just grab hold and just kind of go, well, we're going to play it at our pace, and that's just the end of it. We're going to win it from there. The early game went fantastically well for you, mate. They weren't able to snowball it with the Warwick, and it just didn't really work out overall. As we say, that they ended up not being tanky enough to 1v1 the Corki. Just didn't really work. The Jinx, to me, is a strange pick, considering you have not an immobile, very low mobile ADC. Against someone like a Corki who's able to literally just jump over the traps and jump on top of you.
Yeah,
it's quite hard for her, to get her items and get into the point where she just becomes that ultimate hyper carry. But it should be very interesting to see how this laning phase goes. If Wizio can land a couple of dark bindings, they should be fine. But it all depends on what they land in the laning phase.
Double invades coming out here. Just as we talked about invades not happening, both teams opting to go for the invades onto the opposing teams. And look at the mirror wards coming out. In fact, it's almost exactly mirror wards. That red buff ward for the mate side, and the red buff ward for the Electi side, is they're going to get spot out. And actually, I believe both teams are going to back off. Actually, no, Electi look like they're heading towards the red buff, and they're going to get spotted out by the ward there. Actually, they're going to be a rotation coming out from you, what mate? They're going to head up and try and catch the Maokai out, who is sticking around with that minion. I don't know if he realizes they're going to get spotted out by the ward here, Bloodpenguin. This may be a bit of action.
Oh no, Shawzy, he needs to run away. He might have to take his Arcane Shift first. They're going to try down the sapling. It's going to slow down people a little bit. Dark Binding did miss. They are going to be able to back away. That was some scary, scary moments there for Electi. Really, actually, Aurelia is still kind of caught out right now.
No.
Aurelia really needs to be careful. Chica are going to sneak around. He should be able to get away. Very, very nicely done. He does eventually get about there. Even then, though, as we said, though, they kind of, you know, actually, what are they doing? They're actually going to keep going for this invade. They're right beside them. This is so risky.
My word.
This is so risky right now. I don't even know if Pantheon hasn't got a clue, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything with Maokai coming around. And that was so risky. They had no vision of where Pantheon or Nar were.
He now knows. He now knows.
He now knows. He's going to try find them. It doesn't matter, though. He gets it. Going to be able to walk away with that. He flashes in, though. Going to try and go in on top of this. I don't think he's going to have enough, though. Realistically, he's burned his flash. It's not really going to be enough. I think Sam Hodge is just going to be able to walk away from this. This might have been a really, really poor play.
Sam's coming in, though, maybe.
Maybe coming in. He's only level 1, though. Here comes the Ignite. They're trying to go for it. And again, so much burned there on to Sam Hodge. And nothing gained for it in the end. They lose the red buff and lose so much more as well. They're trying to get something back from that. That was just over-aggression, realistically. They should have just let him go.
That was a lot of over-aggression, but they needed to make sure, I think, a bit of pride hurt there for Proper Panda, if anything. He wanted to make sure he at least got something out of it, and the blue buff is going to be what he takes away from these. They're even going to clear the minion camps out, so he knows the timer too. Obviously, that's something that, he's going to leave one up. But that's something that obviously Sam Hodge won't have on that red buff respawn. And actually, Proper Panda going to make a level 2 gank onto this Shawzy in the mid lane. Brixton's really struggled as he spent a lot of time out of lane as Proper Panda moves in here.
Yeah, he moves in, but again, it's not really going to do a lot. You have got the Arcane Shift. He's going to be able to turn back the aggression, so he needs to be a little bit careful. Doesn't want to get caught out too early, and you got to feel like Proper Panda really was in that kind of like, you know, chase up, was kind of, as I say, securing the blue buff on the opposite side, but as well as that, really trying to just make sure that he didn't get that, that red buff scot-free, considering how close they were to each other at the start. And I think it kind of hurts Maokai a little bit more, because Maokai really, really does need that early mana sustain, and I'm not exactly sure how he does now in the jungle with the new changes to all the jungle items like the Hunter's Machete, but I still think he's a very mana hungry champion who might struggle without that blue buff.
Yeah, he will struggle with that, but obviously you don't have the Spirit Stone anymore, so you don't get a mass amount of mana back on killing minions. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult now for Sam Hodge to get the clear down. But if he manages to level up that Arcane Smash first, as what you tend to see most Maokais in the jungle do, it's quite a mana efficient spell, so I don't think he'll struggle too much. Look at Proper Panda, he hasn't backed yet, he's taken 3 buffs off the map. This guy... I mean, this is just the passive coming out from Pantheon at this point, and it's just so powerful in negating and keeping yourself alive when you need to. Actually, I think he's taken 2 buffs on the map, sorry, obviously. Yes. He lost it. He lost that first, but he took 2 buffs on the map, and a camp, and another camp, and stayed around for all of them. And you saw how low he was when he was initially taking blue. Obviously, you get a bit of health back on Smite now, but that was great from Proper Panda, and he's going to go clear his red buff out now, as Keys is going to keep himself fairly safe, knowing that Maokai is there, gonna tell him he knows he's there with that little boomerang too.
Yeah, exactly, and just make sure he knows everything's kind of, happening right there. And as we say, like, it was a fantastic move. We see a lot of aggression in this bot lane. Hayden needs to be careful. They do trade it back slightly onto the support. Brixton really is struggling in this mid lane against Shawzy's Ezreal, and it's just not going well at all.
And you saw that Shawzy can escape these Pantheon ganks with the ability queuing on his Arcane Shift so easily. Brixton is either going to have to make solo plays or nothing, to be honest. And you saw Shawzy just was so aggressive, and he's going aggressive here.
He goes in and aggressive, and will he be able to take the first blood? He does. He flashes away. Proper Panda already uses stun. No, the Q not enough. He does use his passive to tank up 1 tower hit. That was great knowledge of his own champion, really. Shawzy Arcane shifted aggressively, was able to get a kill even through the passive of the Orb Deception coming out from Ari as well. So a lot of damage, a lot of trade back as well, as we do see more and more aggression, and you've got to feel the tension right now for you, what mate. They know that they are on the back foot coming into this game, and they need to be the ones to make the plays. But right now, it's kind of going in their favor. It's a very, very even early game.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't want to give... Oh, my word, is Pantheon going for an early dragon? You can do early dragons as Pantheon really easily, because actually Dragon's attack speed has been severely reduced, and if you can continue to keep that Aegis up, then you don't take much damage at all. Look at Proper Panda. This is really, really great move from him. It's going to potentially give his team that boost in the early game that they need, because obviously Brixton not having a good time again, and you don't want to give Shawsey the early lead on Ezreal, but Pantheon, level 4, soloing the dragon.
Yeah, he really is, and it's no one from Electi has any kind of clue, and I think he should be able to get this. We'll come back to him in 2 seconds just to see if he actually does get it. His bot lane, though, is going to head up to him and help him out a little bit. Again, that's just...
He genuinely didn't need it.
No,
that was fantastic, and that is the power of Pantheon in the new jungle because of that passive. Essentially, what you're seeing is a lot of the minions and monsters have their base attack speed reduced, and especially that dragon. And the dragon now does an AoE damage in front of it instead of auto-attacking like it used to. So Pantheon can build up his passive and then negate one. He might, and it builds in a cycle. You can negate one, you'll take one. You negate one, you can potentially negate another, then you'll take one. It works in that sense. And actually, that was so solid from Pantheon. It's given his team a little bit of that early boost that they needed.
Yeah, it's fantastic play by Proper Panda. He's really putting on his carry shoes realistically. He knows he is the early game jungler in this matchup. He knows he has to be the one to make the plays, to make those happen. Those early dragons, those mid lane ganks. But I will say though that Maokai will scale into a much heavier tank into that mid to late game. It will start to hinder him a little bit. He will obviously still have the Grand Skyfall and of course Pantheon having that stun. But it's going to be a hell of a lot harder for him to do anything realistically. We see Brixton and Shawsey going head to head. Missing a couple of skill shots there, but nothing too crazy. Shawsey trying to do as much as he can. Keys again and Chi Killer. Keys actually. He's going to get his health buff though as a little steroid in a second, so he's going to be just fine. But Pantheon looking for the counter jungle already. Sitting in there, he's definitely looking for ganks. He's looking to see if he can just catch somebody out.
Way more proactive than he was on Warwick. Obviously, just as you'd expect on a Pantheon. I think he's either looking to get the one-up on Shawsey, or he's definitely going for a potential set of counter jungling aspects here. He's not going to find anything because the jungle camps have had their respawn time up to 100 seconds. So it takes a little bit. It takes a little bit longer for these camps to respawn, so it's going to be more difficult to just wander into your opponent's jungle and expect to find something full there for you to clear. But he is going to take away that big wolf, and actually, on the flip side of that, it makes counter jungling ever more important, because now if you do take away those camps, they've got a longer time before the enemy jungler can claim them for the experience, for the gold. And there's already been complaints, obviously a lot of people have troubles with new jungles when it comes out. People are already struggling with gold generation in the new jungle. If you start to take away camps from your opposing jungler, they're going to struggle even more.
And I think it's just going to be a fantastic little thing. You see the wolves, when you kill the enemy wolf camp, it does give you a ward to actually keep you in the vision of the enemy jungler. It's a fantastic little buff, really.
Yeah, really wonderful.
Really, really good play there as we see Mexi and WYZIU going head to head. The ward battles begin, and I actually don't think WYZIU is going to win out on this one. He might lose another ward for his troubles.
Oh, wow.
Nicely done there. Oh, I think Mexi will be the one to go down. He flashes away. Will he be able to get away? There's a spell shield. They jump on the Corki. Oh, the Q comes out. It wasn't enough though from the exhaust. They're trying to jump back on the Hayden. He gets the ignite. One more auto attack from Jade should do it. Morgana gets the kill onto that one with the ignite last ticking down. Great coordination gank there from Propaganda Panda. They're able to pick up 2 kills and potentially the turret.
And that's what we see from Propaganda Panda, and with that Jinx they're going to snowball and get that tower down as quickly as possible too, and maybe not getting around this one. Propaganda Panda's going to stick there. He might actually go down to the tower here. He does go down to the tower here.
Yeah, a little bit of a misplay. He just had to back away and push back the wave. They would have been able to pick it up without losing him. Luckily for him, it is only an execution. He doesn't lose any gold to his team. They do pick up the turret in the end. And again, it's just stuff like this that's just really difficult. We see Chi Killer and Keys going head to head. I feel like Chi Killer, if he had have just got a little bit more ham. He could have been able to do something there. We see a good Meganar ultimate coming in as well. Cheekiller forced the flash. Nicely done. Does dodge out that boulder to the face, and Keys able to stay alive as well. So very, very aggressive. You can see how close this. Ooh, Cheekiller needs to be so careful. He's going to have to back away from this.
Yeah, he's actually going to go aggressive. Oh, the boomerang! The boomerang! Keys,
Nicely done.
You have unlocked Irelia's casket with your key right there, buddy, because she has gone straight into the grave. Fantastic play from Keys. I got to just point out in that gank from Proper Panda a couple of minutes ago, it was so clutch of him to stun Corki and get the spear off onto Janna. That takes quick thinking. Although it's a simple skill to execute, very quick to think on your feet and get it done. So nice play from him, and I'm loving how Propaganda Panda is doing work across the map. He's far more proactive this game, and that's what we like to see.
And far proactive from the last game, also far more proactive than Maokai. Maokai is just kind of farming up, which he has to do in order to come out big into that mid to late game. But it is starting to hinder everybody else on his team. They're not getting the pressure down that they had in the last game with the Jarvan. They're really not getting a lot from this Maokai pick, and it's just going to slowly try and escalate further from there. But I gotta go back to that top lane. Keys did absolutely fantastically well. Was able to get you there and actually lock up the poor bug in the middle in the river there to get the vision. Dragon up in 40 seconds, and you've got to feel like this is, you know, again, it's what you want Mate's Dragon to take. But I will say they did have a fantastic early game last time. They need to be able to transcend that into a good mid to late game. Otherwise, there's no real point in getting it.
Yeah, and they do have the timer, obviously, because of that fantastic solo by Proper Panda early on. So they're going to go ahead and take that off the map in 17 seconds. I don't think that Electi have any clue that it's happening right now, but I do think Mexi's going to get a ward across the Dragon Pit when she can. So the tornado coming out here actually doesn't know. Will they see the dragon spawning on the wall there? I think
they will now. They will now that they got the ward, but they don't see it previous to that. Dragon was procced. They do have it coming out now, so they're trying to go back onto this. And honestly, this is, do you want Mate's Dragon for the win, realistically? They have Ari playing, you know, keep away effectively. Maokai got to try steal it with the Mullet. They get a good charm as well. He flashes in, but it's not going to be enough. He flashes into his detriment. Brixton actually going to use a Spirit Rush over the wall again. Good big one there coming out. We see Ezreal going in as well. He has no flash. They're trying to go in hard. He actually does have flash. I do apologize. I looked at the wrong cameras, or looked at the wrong champion for the flash indicator. Proper Panda did use Grand Skyfall just to kind of scare him away, but they do lose the dragon, and that's another dragon going in favor of You Want Mate, and they're starting to stack up, and they're getting a good bit of a gold lead.
Yeah, this is the kind of You Want Mate that we're used to seeing. They've definitely turned the heat up from the last game despite losing a ban, picking up some champions which I think suit them better. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure the flashes for the early dragons are as worth it anymore, just because you don't need to worry too much about those early dragon buffs, especially the first two. It's definitely not worth losing your